Up first, we have how to squash the revenue fears by thinking beyond the transaction. That's with mortgage coach, President Joe Puther. Hey, Joe, how are you?
I am great. How are you, Tony?
Doing really well. Thank you so much. And we've also got HomeBinder Chief Strategy Revenue Officer, Pete Palya.
There you go. Thank you,
How are you,
Tony.
Peter?
Doing great, Tony. Thank you very much for having us.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Tony. And thanks to the entire TMC community for coming together today to learn, to grow. When you think about home lending and how important it is to the nation, it is crucial that all of us are at our best and that we really do understand how to maximize accessibility to affordable home ownership. I'm so excited today to be joined by the HomeBinder team. When you think of the partners that TMC has put together, true innovators are working hard behind the scenes to help lenders like all of you achieve record results this year and beyond. And Danny, who's of course a leader that many of you know, and Celebrity Home Loans, a brand that many of you recognize, to share a little bit of the perspectives of the industry together as we think about how to practically put some of the best practices in place that we discuss and talk about today. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Joe Couture. I'm the president of Mortgage Coach. And Mortgage Coach really does focus on borrower education. You can see here on this slide on the left-hand side is the typical loan estimate document that you oftentimes see. You know, this is a typical, a white sheet of paper that doesn't really provide the depth of understanding and comparison that a customer really needs when making an educated mortgage decision. So Mortgage Coach provides an interactive total cost analysis. That's what you see on the right-hand side, and some of what we're going to talk about today that HomeBinder is automating to make it easier for all of you to have results. And so the Mortgage Coach total cost analysis shows any loan compared to any other type of loan so that folks like yourselves can understand the costs and benefits of each option and help customers make that more educated decision. And part of our experiences really come from listening to the community of top producers. So not only are we here sharing today the technology capabilities to deliver memorable and impactful comparisons like are on the screen, but 34% of top producers today use Mortgage Coach on every transaction. These are lenders from large institutions and brands that everyone recognizes. This is from banks, depositories. When you take away the concept of the lender brand and you really look at the advisor, true advisors provide transparency. And the only way to provide transparency is to show cost over time. And right now, Mortgage Coach total cost analysis is the way that is able to happen, and the industry has embraced it as the standard. And so what we're focused on right now today is how to empower all of you to maximize every transaction opportunity at every stage in the loan process. So when you look at the mortgage industry of right now, you can think of your customer for life as kind of a circular process. So at any point in time where you're going to talk about rates, terms, payments, or ownership costs, you can lean on the TCA and you can lean on the partner providers of TMC to make sure the best experiences possible happen at each of these stages of influence. And while we've spent a lot of time as an industry focused on engaging, capturing, and closing, this retaining and repeat transaction, this how do you make sure that the folks that you close become transactions again, is one of the most overlooked areas of opportunity, and where HomeBinder has created some incredible innovation to bring together the post-close process and proactive mortgage advice that leads to another transaction. So I hope as we go through the discussion today with Danny and the rest of the panel, that all of you too are inspired to dig deep into your existing customer base and help create new transactions from repeat influence. And with that, I'd like to introduce Pete to tell us a little bit about how HomeBinder has truly innovated the opportunity here in the retention and repeat transaction space.
Yeah, thanks very much, Joe. I appreciate it. Danny, really appreciate you joining us. Again, HomeBinder, we are really focused on providing those clients peace of mind and help them really maximize the asset value of their largest asset, their home. Really through an interactive platform. We're going to get into that in a bit. We're going to talk about more about the integration with Mortgage Coach. But what's important here is we're focused on helping businesses deliver that peace of mind and help them maximize home value, in doing it in a way that is really allowing HomeBinder to communicate with that homeowner on your behalf, on the business's behalf. And the benefit really is you're educating, you're supporting that client, you're supporting them through the life of ownership, you're providing things like proactive maintenance, and ultimately allowing them to maximize asset value by making sure they are being proactive on maintaining that property. And it's good for the homeowner, and obviously, by supporting them, it's good for the business. It builds that loyalty, builds that trust, builds that retention, and quite honestly, it builds referrals as well. So we'll get into that further as we show the demo.
Great, thanks, Pete. And I think, bringing Danny into the conversation as we think about this concept of, how folks should be tapping into this opportunity, really want to take the opportunity to learn from the group and understand what aspects of your business you're prioritizing. But Danny and his group have certainly been able to prioritize this concept of repeat transactions and growth. And Danny, maybe you could tell the audience a bit about your practice as they come to understand some of the advice that you'll share today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've, as you know, Joe, you and I've been friends for what, an embarrassing amount of time at this stage. And, the majority of my career was really spent as an originator, really struggling with the same challenges that, those of you that are loan officers on this call are still facing today. And those of you that are, business owners or leaders of businesses, those that, that you serve, those loan officers, branch managers are certainly facing today, in even a more urgent way, I would say, than was true years ago, or even really, months ago. The pace of change, the pace of technology is accelerating exponentially, and it's more urgent than ever, in my opinion. And I think our shared opinion here as a panel, that we as originators and advisors that are, given the opportunity to serve families, really step up and do it at a level that we've never really been expected to engage with those families at before. And so my company, Celebrity Home Loans, extremely proud member of the TMC community, and really, really happy to be here to share. We really believe that financial literacy is the hinge that that we need to really focus on to truly add value and get permission to be in the life of a family for the 30-year duration of a loan. And that it's not just the 30 days of value that exists during the transaction that will define us, as a company or as an industry, but it's the 30 years of service and focus and continued care that is truly the difference maker. And I feel as an industry, there's pockets of people like those 34% that you described, Joe, that have engaged and embraced this, at some level. But the degree to which this must be systematized into your business go forward has never, again, I'm going to use the word urgent because I really believe that this is almost an existential issue for us. I believe the majority of us on this call are running, primarily distributed retail shops, where we're, really focused on relational value in order to, define the number of transactions that we're able to kind of engage in on a monthly and annual basis. And, without leveraging tools like HomeBinder and Mortgage Coach, I really do believe it will be impossible to maintain relevancy in the future market that I think we all can see on the horizon.
Well, Danny, thanks for that insight. And, I think one of the things about financial literacy and being there and earning the right to be there through that post-transaction, that 30-year life of loan, is a unique way of articulating this responsibility as an advisor and the opportunity that exists from managing that relationship in a more proactive way. Can you tell us a little bit about what you see as that opportunity, and specifically when you looked at what we're talking about here today with HomeBinder and Mortgage Coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy to, because it's something that I have a lot of passion around. First off, the title of this presentation is essentially crushing the revenue fears or concerns. I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm paraphrasing it. And what that translates that to in my mind is finding a way to truly annuitize your business. And a good friend and business partner of mine used an analogy that I think is just really apt, which is that most loan officers run their business like a lawnmower without a bag. And they just continuously go through the grind month after month, year after year, and they don't think about what it truly would take and what the power that would be generated if they just sat down and systematized that post-closing experience. Because what we're doing today, by and large as an industry, and I know there's many excellent practitioners out there that have embraced the idea of becoming an advisor, embraced the idea of a client for life mentality, but there's many others that haven't. And those that haven't right now, what they're doing is they're reinventing the wheel every single time they engage with that client. And they believe that they're in a relationship with their client because they say, like, I'm a relationship business. I'm in, my clients know me, they trust me, and they're going to do business with me again. But the facts are that when you're engaging with somebody only once every 3 to 7 years, you're not in a relationship with them. Amazon is in a relationship with their clients because they know when they buy toilet paper, right? That's daily engagement, right? And so what I believe the marriage of HomeBinder and Mortgage Coach allows for a loan officer to do, or a company that's in support of loan officers to do, is extend the value past the transaction in a very deliberate and systematized way. So you enter in, so ideally, like the wheel that you showed, Joe, you have a loan officer that's adding value, that's contributing to the education of that client so they can make a very powerful decision before and during the transaction, but that there is then a moment of education at closing or just closely following closing that describes that next moment of engagement. This is what it will look like when we do business again, whether it's going to be a cash out refinance for your kid's college because we know they're 16 years old because we found that on the 1003, or whatever the event is. That stage is set. But what the marriage of HomeBinder to that process does, it allows for an anchor that's very tangible to be tied up to that event, so that there's a reason for that client to engage on a systematic basis with the loan officer beyond that future event of transaction. And those events are, very obviously being able to capture all the documentation, which I just did a handful of refinances myself, and I didn't have HomeBinder at the time, and I have a stack of closing documents on my desk here that I very much wish were tied up and stored electronically and securely, so I didn't have to shred them sometime in the future or store them here in my office. But then you have the prospect of building wealth through real estate, which is really the idea that Peter described, which is either through scheduled and proactive home maintenance, you're either increasing appreciation on the property or slowing depreciation of the property, which ultimately results in more wealth. And then that kind of segues or bridges that advisor into that event where they have, not only they've added value over time, not just in 30 days, but ideally over 30 years, and they've gained more permission, they now have a better platform to launch into that next moment of adding value to that family's life, because ideally the home has more value in it to either sell and purchase another property or do a cash out refinance to build that pool they always wanted. And so it's that idea of constant engagement and providing a reason for the and a permission for that loan officer to continuously engage without it feeling like a sales pitch.
Danny, we think about engagement all the time. Obviously, we're providing a solution ultimately for a homeowner. And, you hit the nail on the head where you talk about education and supporting. So homeowners are going to engage if they feel like you're supporting them, if they feel like this is something that at the end of the day is going to benefit them. So it sounds like education obviously is kind of a cornerstone, whether it's maintenance, whether it's, home value, whatever it is. It sounds like, it's centralized for you around making sure you can support and educate your clients at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter and Joe, one of the things that we've been communicating a lot inside of the walls of Celebrity, and I'll share it with all of you today, is that And this realization came to me back in 2014, the very first time I ever helped a family that had a family office. And if you're not familiar with a family office, it's essentially a high net worth individual has a bunch of advisors that they circle around themselves and their family to ensure that they're always making the right decisions. And in that moment, what hit me was that wealthy people are not wealthy because they have money. They're wealthy because they have access to superior information, and that information allows them to make better decisions. We as an industry have more information about a family's financial health than anyone else, even their financial advisors in most cases, because we have access to their credit report. We understand both the asset side and the liability side. So I couldn't, and thank you for emphasizing that, Peter, because I couldn't agree with you more. It is our fiduciary responsibility to educate families, and we need permission to do that. We cannot just expect to show up on people's doorsteps 3 years after the last time we spoke with them and have this grand, plan for their financial health and expect them to give us the time of day. We must have strategies like HomeBinder and like Mortgage Coach to demonstrate our professionalism so that we gain the permission to consistently add value to those families' lives.
I mean, I'll talk a bit here as we think about that education as to the challenges that we hear all the time from homeowners, and probably a lot of folks on this Zoom call as well is education is so key, because we've all had examples of trying to find out what's gone on, what's the history of our home, whether we've been in that home for a month or for 10 years, or we just inherited it from the former owner. Home management is just hard, right? We've got technology to manage every other aspect of our lives, but there are 15 different places to find. I just looked for an electrician for my home. I was shuffling through my desk, and then I realized, oh, it's in my HomeBinder. So we're all looking at examples of how do we do a better job of pulling that history together so that it makes home management easier, takes away some of that stress. Quite honestly, the largest demographic of homeowners today, first-time owners, are younger owners, millennials. They're going to be in their home for longer, and they know less about home management all the time. It's interesting, some of the things that we hear from these homeowners about everything from changing an air filter to sweeping a chimney. They just know less about home management, and ultimately that comes down to education. And lastly, I think particularly for those servicers that have an impact on the financial future of the homeowner, there's some frustration and frankly mistrust of businesses that are transactional. And so we hear that again and again, where they're looking for help in managing their what in most cases are their largest asset. And we think the opportunity, like folks like yourself, Danny, are really capitalizing on, is this opportunity to educate, to support, and to build that loyalty. There's the benefits are numerous. Quite honestly, if you've got that history, and as we get into our platform, you see the impact on things like home value. You see the impact on being able to be proactive with maintenance, and you start to think about reducing the risk of that home. Ultimately, these are things that we as homeowners want, and an increasing number of businesses are trying to provide. So really appreciate your insight there, because it really sings to what we're providing here. I'm going to jump into the demo, and before I do this, just by way of a quick introduction, just so folks know what HomeBinder, how HomeBinder is delivered. We are effectively delivered as a service to the homeowner when the transaction is closed. On your behalf, we communicate with the homeowner, and we're really helping centralize everything about that home that they want to manage. We provide, as we'll talk about, and Danny mentioned, proactive maintenance. And as we get into the integration with Mortgage Coach, the concept of what if beyond just the AVM, you knew about everything that you've done or past owners have done to that home? How does that help provide more comprehensive, more intelligence behind the home value? And so we look at home value a little bit differently in that, it's not just what you get from an AVM, but it's all the things that you've done to reduce risk and provide appreciation. So with that, I'll jump into a live HomeBinder. And what you see here is this is what a HomeBinder would, a homeowner would get. This is a test binder. A HomeBinder is branded always with the loan officer of record, and through our integration with Encompass, the real estate agent of record would get pulled in through the transaction. And so the business is always front and center supporting that client. As we talk about centralization, one of the things that you do today, and Danny and we were talking about it earlier, a lot of lenders are still providing loan docs on a thumb drive. So one of the things that loan officers want to be able to do is provide a way to digitally deliver in a way that's secure. We centralize, among other things, all the docs. So the information from the loan transaction would come into that homeowner's binder. Again, a lot of things to talk about here, but in the interest of time, what I'll certainly highlight here is we talk about proactive maintenance. This is really something that's kind of the cornerstone of HomeBinder. So the maintenance would come off our system 6 to 8 times a year. High engagement, always branded with our businesses that are supporting the homeowner. It's proactive, it's property specific, it's actionable. Again, something that homeowners want. But as we then think about, okay, so let's talk home value. In this particular case, we're leveraging information on that we have available to us on the home value, but now we start to think about, okay, what if scenarios? So we have a home value page that will pull data from the loan to be able to ascertain home value, but then we can create adjustments to that value based on things that you've done inside the home, appliance credits, home improvements, et cetera. Optimizing value over time, optimizing the financial education of the homeowner. And then when they are looking to either do a refinance or re-engage with that borrower, this is where the power of the Mortgage Coach integration comes in. So from the Mortgage Coach TCA can be generated from the homeowner's perspective. And so if I'm a homeowner, I can go into my HomeBinder at any time. I can look at and view and create a total cost analysis. If I click on that, this is the view I will see. So it'll pull up this, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe, because in addition to the homeowner creating a TCA, we also obviously allow the loan officer, and if the loan officer doesn't, we provide an automated mortgage review for that homeowner.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I think the most important thing here is what you just said, that each of those steps are offered. So whether it's coming from the consumer, whether it's coming from the originator's actions themselves, or it's coming from the intelligence behind the scenes where you're analyzing that data and proactively sending it, the analysis is ending up in the hands of many more consumers. And the pull-through rate of consumers who interact with education and then engage with their professional is substantially higher than any other type of content you can deliver. And as Danny echoed, it is that education, that ongoing education, and that right to provide advice that lets you position new loan products, whether it's a refinance, a move-up analysis, or even a debt consolidation. So I think for the audience here, when you think about all the things that are important in 2022 and beyond, getting the most out of your existing relationships and finding revenue in your past closed loans is an opportunity unlike any other, because you've already created the lead, you just need to engage it. And so I think that automation is crucial. And for those of you who are familiar with Mortgage Coach, you're driving profitability by ensuring that they see all available loan products. So the screen that Pete has up right now, every single automated analysis that HomeBinder creates on your behalf is being presented in Mortgage Coach on demand, so that you can pull additional pricing and apply the appropriate financial strategy to help that contact become a converted loan. And so again, I think the automation here that you and your team done is spectacular, Pete, and the accuracy of the information being presented by pulling today's current rates and presenting it in this interactive manner is really special. Danny, I know that this innovation is one of the things that when you think about some lenders' apprehension to adding another piece of technology or having yet another innovation to think about in 2022, you saw this as being different, and the concept of not being intimidated by having multiple touch points to the borrower. Can you tell the community a little bit about that insight?
Yeah, Joe, knowing that we only have about a minute left, I'll be very brief here. Team, at the moment that I'm aware of, there's no comprehensive technology that can really, from an end-to-end perspective, help you manage a client for life strategy and deliver value and education in the way that this combined technology can. And the way our team thinks of this is really about leveraging the power of our sales force. And I used the analogy with this group earlier of each of these technologies is like a piece of Voltron, right? On its own, it's very powerful, but when you combine them all together, you're force multiplying your loan officers and your sales teams exponentially. It's not just as simple as a 1 + 1 = 2 type of event. And what I'll offer to this group is, if you do not use technologies like HomeBinder or Mortgage Coach, one of two things is happening. Either you're manually delivering the value in an unleveraged way, which means you're doing it in a very expensive way, or you're not delivering the necessary value that is required for you to be relevant in the upcoming mortgage market. Either of those two things is unacceptable, because we won't be able to survive if we are, unnecessarily increasing our costs or not adequately delivering value. So it's mandatory to build a tech stack that really provides the solution that your sales team needs.
Well, Danny, well
Thank you
put.
very much. Really appreciate the time. And again, as Joe said, I want to echo thank you to TMC. Really appreciate this. There is through the app, mobile app, there are some poll questions. You saw the first two, and it's the last one here is if you'd like to have a follow-up conversation with Joe and or me, just please email starlet@mortgagecoach.com, and we'd love to carry on the conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.